Good morning, guys. Sadly, I won't be in today, and I'm not sure if I'll be back next week, so we'll kind of just play it by ear. But I thought it would be helpful if I took some time and read the next section of the audio or the play we're working on today. Today we are going to be reading pages 29 through 37. So if you want to open that PDF that you have available to you in Classroom, that would be a great place to start. It looks like this. It's a material that I posted a while back. Um, and we're going to be working on page 29. I'm actually going to open it in a new window for my sake, just because it's a little easier. And then I'm going to go all the way down to page 29 to get us started. All right. So where we last left off, life is a little tense for the Proctors. Elizabeth is very much aware of John's affair from 7 months ago, and even though she claims to have forgiven him, it's very clear that that may not be the case. And so they're fighting. He basically tells her that he regrets ever telling her that he was having an affair. Bold move, John. And as they're kind of reaching the end of their fight, Mary Warren, who works for them and is one of Abigail's friends, shows up. And we're going to find out about a little bit more about how the town is going in terms of this. So feel free to read along with me. I'll be starting at John Proctor's line, located right here, about 3/4 of the way down the page. All right. So Proctor says, "Oh, Elizabeth, your justice could freeze beer." He turns suddenly towards the sound outside, and Mary Warren enters. "How do you go to Salem when I forbid it? Do you mock me? I'll whip you if you dare leave this house again." And Mary, weakly, "I'm sick. I am sick. Mr. Proctor, pray hurt me not. My insides are all shuddery. I'm in proceedings all day." Proctor, angrily in a loud voice, as Mary is crossing. "And what is these proceedings here? When do you proceed to keep this house, as you are paid £9 a year to do, and my wife not wholly well?" Mary crosses to Elizabeth and takes a small rag doll from her pocket in her undershirt, and tells her, "I made a gift for you today, Miss Proctor. I had to sit long hours in a chair, and I passed the time with sewing." Elizabeth, perplexed, but so she's a little confused. She looks at the doll. "Why, thank you. It is a fair puppet." Mary, fervently, with trembling, decayed voice, "We must all love God. We must all love each other now, Mrs. Proctor, or Goody Proctor." Elizabeth, amazed at her strangeness, "Aye, indeed we must." Mary says, "I'll get up early in the morning and clean the house, but I must sleep now." Proctor asks, "Mary, is it true that 14 women have been arrested?" Mary says, "No, sir. There be 39 women arrested now," and she suddenly breaks off and begins to cry. Elizabeth, rising and crossing to Mary, "Why, she's weepin'. What ails you, child?" Mary says, "Goody Osborne, Mrs. Osborne, will hang." Elizabeth hugs her. Proctor, "Hang, hang, you say?" "Aye," says Mary. "The deputy governor will permit it?" Proctor asks. Mary, "He sentenced her. He must." She takes her head from Elizabeth's shoulder and then um, to kind of make things better, she says, "But not Sarah Good, for Sarah Good confessed, you see." Proctor's like, "Confessed to what?" "That she sometimes made a compact with Lucifer and wrote her name in his black book with her blood and bound herself to torment the Christians till God's thrown down, and we must all worship hell forevermore." Elizabeth puts the doll on the table. Proctor says, "But surely you know what a jabber. She talks a lot." "She is. Did you tell them that?" "Mr. Proctor, in open court, she near choked us all to death." Proctor goes, "How did she choke you?" Mary says, "She sent out her spirit." Elizabeth, "Oh, Mary, Mary, surely, Mary, she tried to kill me many times, Goody Proctor." Elizabeth says, "Well, I've never heard you mention that before." Mary, innocently, "Well, I never knew before. I never knew anything before. And when she come into the court, I say to myself, I must not accuse this woman, for she sleeps in ditches, and she's so very old and so very poor. But then she sit there, denying and denying, and I could feel a misty coldness climbing up my back, and the skin on my skull began to creep, and I felt a clamp around my neck, and I can't breathe. And then, entranced as though it were a miracle, I hear a voice, a scream of voice, and it were my voice, and all at once I remembered everything she had done to me." There's a slight pause as Proctor watches Elizabeth pass him, then speaks, being aware of Elizabeth's alarm. Proctor, who looks at Elizabeth, "Why, what did she do to you?" Mary, like one awakened to a marvelous secret insight, "So many times, Mr. Proctor, she come to this very door begging for bread and a cup of cider, and mark this, whenever I turned her away empty, she'd mumbled." Mumbled. She may mumble when she's hungry. Mary says, but what does she mumble? You must remember, Goody Proctor, that last month, a Monday, I think, she walked away and I thought my guts would burst for 2 days. Do you remember it? Elizabeth says, why, I do, I think, but Mary. And so I told you, so that's what I told Judge Hawthorne, and he asks her, so Goody says, what curse did you mumble at this girl that must fall sick when you're turned away? And she replies, as though mimicking an old crone, why, you're excellent, no curse at all. I only say my commandments. I hope I may say my commandments, says she. And, well, that's an upright answer, says Elizabeth. And Mary says, but I judge. Then Judge Hawthorne says, recite it for us, your commandments. And of all the 10, she could not say a single one. She never knew no commandments, and they had her in a flat lie. Proctor, they said they condemned her? Mary, impatient at his stupidity. Why, they must, when she condemned herself. But the proof. Mary, with great impatience at him. I told you the proof. It's a hard proof, hard as the rock, the judges say. Proctor, you will not go to that court again, Mary Warren. Mary, defiantly, I must tell you, sir, that I will be gone every day now, and I am amazed that you do not see the weighty work that we do. What work you do? It's a strange work for a Christian girl to hang an old woman. But Mr. Proctor, Mary says, Mr. Proctor, they will not hang if they confess. Sarah Good will only sit in jail for some time. And here's a wonder. And you think on this Goody Good is pregnant. Elizabeth, pregnant? Are they mad? That woman's near to 60. Mary, happy with the wonders of the court. They had Dr. Briggs examine her, and she's full to the brim, and smoking a pipe all these years, and no husband either. But she's safe, thank God, for they will not hurt the innocent child. She smiles happily. But be that not a marvel? You see, sir, it's God's work we do. So I'll be gone every day for some time. I'm an official of the court, they say, and Proctor says, all official, you, and goes and gets his whip, goes to try and get his whip. Mary striving for authority. She's trying to establish that she's in charge here. I'll not stand for whipping any more. The devil's loose in Salem, Mr. Proctor. We must discover where he's hiding. Proctor says, I'll whip the devil out of you. With a whip raised, she yells. Mary points at Elizabeth. I saved her life today. Silence. His whip comes down. Elizabeth, softly. I am accused? Mary says, you're somewhat mentioned, but I said I'd never see no sign that you sent your spirit out to hurt no one, and seeing as I live so closely with you, they dismissed it. Who accused me? Mary says, I'm bound by the law, I cannot tell. To Mr. Proctor, I hope you'll be not so sarcastical no more. 4 judges and the king's deputy sat to dinner with us but an hour ago, and I would have you speak to me civilly from this out. So she's like, I'm important. Pay it, like, you can't tell me what to do. Proctor, in disgust to her, go to bed. Mary says, no, I'll be ordered to bed no more, Mr. Proctor. I am 18 and a woman, however single. Proctor says, do you wish to sit up? Then sit up. Mary stamps her foot. Well, I wish to go to bed. Proctor, in anger, then good night. He starts out. She starts out. Mary, good night. She goes out. Elizabeth says, oh, the noose. The noose is up. Proctor replies, there's no noose. There will be no noose. She wants me dead. I knew it all week that it would come to this. And Proctor says, without conviction, they'll dismiss it. You heard her say. And what of tomorrow? She will cry me out until they take me. Sit you down. Elizabeth says, she wants me dead, John. Proctor, I know it. Proctor, I say sit down. We must be wise, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, with sarcasm and a sense of being lost. Oh, indeed, indeed. Proctor, not looking at her, fearing nothing. I'll find Ezekiel Cheever, and I'll tell him what she said it were sport. Okay. I'll tell him she said it were all sport. Elizabeth says, John, with so many in jail now, there would be in the jail more than that is needed. Would you favor me with this? Go to Abigail. Why? What do I have to say to Abigail? Elizabeth says, John, grant me this. You have a faulty understanding of young girls. There's a promise made in any bed. Proctor, striving against her anger, looking at her, what promise? Spoken or silent? Promise is surely made, and she may dote on it, as I am sure she does, and thinks to kill me and take my place. It is her dearest hope, John, I know it. There be 1,000 names, but why does she call mine? There be a certain danger in calling such name. I'm no Goody Good that sleeps in ditches, nor Goody Osborne, half drunk and half witted. She dare not call it such a farmer's wife, but there be monstrous profit in it. She thinks to take my place, John. Proctor says he knows because he knows that it's true. She cannot think it. Elizabeth, John, have you ever shown her of somewhat of contempt? You cannot pass in church, but you will blush. Well, I may blush for my sin. I think she sees another meaning in that blush, John. And what you see? What see you, Elizabeth? I think you be somewhat ashamed, for I am there, and she is so close. Proctor says, when will you know me, woman? Where I stood, I would have cracked this from shame this 7 month. Elizabeth says, then go now and tell her that she's a whore, and whatever promise she may sense, break it, John, break it. And Proctor, rising, getting a gun, good, then I'll go. Proctor, Elizabeth says, oh, how unwillingly. I will curse her hotter than the oldest cinder in hell, fear not, but pray, begrudge me not in my anger. Proctor, Elizabeth says, your anger? I only ask, woman, am I so base? Do you truly think me base? I never called you base. Then why do you charge me with such a promise? The promise the stallion gives a mare I gave that girl. Proctor, so angry he gropes for words and phrases. Because it speaks deceit and I am honest. I'll plead no... Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. Elizabeth says, then why do you anger with me when I bid you break it? Proctor is so angry he gropes for words and phrases. Because it speaks deceit and I am honest, but I'll plead no more. I see now how your spirit twists around the single error of my life, and I will never tear it free. And Elizabeth cries out, you'll tear it free when you come to know that I will be your only wife or no wife at all. She has an arrow in you yet, John Proctor, and you know it well. Proctor starts to leave quite suddenly as though from the air Hale appears, and they start slightly. Hale is different now, drawn, even a little even of guilt in his manner now. And Hale says, good evening. So Reverend Hale, who helps find witches, has appeared at their home in the evening. Um, and he's going to ask them some questions, okay? Because as we both know now, Abby has probably accused Mrs. Proctor of being a witch in order to hopefully marry John. Hale says, good evening. Proctor, why, Mr. Hale, good evening to you, sir. Come on in, come on in. Hale, I hope I do not startle you. Elizabeth says, no, no, it's only I heard no horse. Hale says, you are good wife, Proctor? I, Elizabeth. Hale, I hope you're not off to bed yet. No, no, let you come in, Mr. Hale. We are not used to visitors after dark, but you're welcome here. Will you sit down? I will let you sit down, good wife Proctor. Will you drink cider, Mr. Hale? No, it rebels my stomach. I have some further traveling yet tonight. Sit you down. I will not keep you long, but I have some business with you. Business of the court? Hale hesitantly. No, no. I come on my own, without the court's authority. Hear me. I know not if you are aware, but your name is mentioned in the court. Proctor says, we know it, sir. Our Mary Warren told us. We are entirely amazed. Hale, I am a stranger here, as you know, and in my ignorance I find it hard to draw a clear opinion of them that are accused before the court. And so this afternoon now I go from house to house, and I came from Rebecca Nurse's house, and Elizabeth, shocked, Rebecca's charged. Hale, God forbid such a one be charged. She is, however, mentioned somewhat. You will never believe, I hope, that Rebecca trafficked with the devil. Hale, regretfully, woman, it is possible. Proctor, taken aback, surely you cannot think it so. This is a strange time, mister. No man may longer doubt the powers of dark gathered in monstrous attacks upon this village. There is too much evidence now to deny it. You will agree, sir? Proctor evades the question. I have no knowledge of that line, but it's hard to think so pious a woman secretly be the devil's bitch after 70 years of good prayer. Hale. Aye, but the devil is a wild one, and you cannot deny it. However, she is far from uh, accused, and I know she will not be. I thought, sir, to put some questions to the Christian character of this house, if you'll permit me. Proctor says, why, we have no fear of questions, sir. Good then. In the book of record Mr. Parris keeps it, they note that you rarely attend church on Sabbath. So they'd rarely attend church on Sundays. Proctor says, no, you, sir, you are mistaken. And Hale says, only 26 times in 17 months. Um, so that's about once every 3 weeks, which would be bad. I must call that rare. Will you tell me why you are so absent? Proctor said, Mr. Hale, with a slight pause to control ourselves. I never knew I must account to that man if I come to church or stay home. My wife were sick this winter. Hale kindly, so I am told. But you, mister, why could you not come alone? I surely did when I could, and when I could not I prayed in this house. And Mr. Proctor, Hale says, your house is not a church. Your theology should tell you that. Proctor, restraining his anger, it does, sir, it does. And it tells me that a minister may pray to God without having golden candlesticks upon the altar. Hale, what golden candlesticks? Proctor, he pauses, gripping the edge of the table to control his anger. Since we built the church, there were pewter candlesticks upon the altar, and Francis Nurse made them, you know, and a sweeter hand has never touched the metal. But Parris came, and for 20 weeks he preached nothing but golden candlesticks until he had them. I labor the earth from dawn till day, to blink to night. And I tell you true, when I look to heaven and see my money glaring at his elbows, it hurt my prayer, sir. It hurt my prayer. And I think sometimes the man dreams cathedrals, not clapboard meeting houses. And yet, mister, a Christian on Sabbath day must be in a church. Tell me, you have 3 children? Aye, boys. How come only 2 were baptized? Proctor pauses as he controls himself and looks at Elizabeth, uncomfortable at the thought. I like it not that Mr. Parrish should lay a hand upon my baby. I see no light of God in that man, I may not conceal it. Hale says, I must say, Mr. Proctor, that is not for you to decide. The man's ordained, therefore the light of God is within him. Proctor, what's your suspicion, Mr. Hale? Mr. Hale says, no, no, I have no. Proctor, I nailed a roof upon that church. I hung the door. Hale eagerly, oh, did you? That's a good sign then. Proctor says, it may be I have been too quick to bring the man a book, but you cannot think we ever desired the destruction of religion. I think that's where your mind is it not? Hale says, there's a softness in your record, a softness. Elizabeth, I think we may have been too hard with Mr. Parris, I think. But sure we have never loved the devil here. And Hale says, do you know your commandments, Elizabeth? And Elizabeth, without hesitation, simply, primly, well, I sure do. There's no bark of blame upon my life, Mr. Hale. I'm a covenanted Christian woman. And you, sir? Proctor says, I'm sure that I do. Well, Hale says, then let you repeat them, if you will. And Proctor says, the commandments. Aye. Proctor says, thou shalt not kill. Aye. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's goods, nor give unto thee a graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image. And Hale says, you've said that twice, sir. Aye, says Proctor. Elizabeth delicately, adultery, John. Proctor, as though a secret arrow has pained his heart. Aye, trying to grin it away to Hale. You see, sir, between the two of us we know 'em all. Hale looks at Proctor deep in his attempt to define this man, and Proctor grows more uneasy. I think it be a small fault. Hale, thoughtfully and regretfully. Theology, sir, is a fortress. No crack in a fortress may be accounted small. There be no love for Satan in this house. I pray it daily. Well, rising. Well, then I'll bid you good night. Elizabeth says, unable to restrain her anxiety. Mr. Hale, I do believe you are suspecting me somewhat, are you not? Hale, Goody Proctor, I do not judge you. My duty is to add what I may to the godly wisdom of the court. I pray you both good health and good fortune. Good night, sir. Elizabeth, with a note of desperation, I think you must tell him, John. All right, and we're going to stop there. So I'm going to type up a quick question set just to make sure you understand what we read. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email, a text, or a comment in Classroom. All right, there's going to be another small activity right after this, so you'll do both during your class period today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.